3 leadership lessons any CEO can learn from a fighter jet pilot. I did some work with the Ministry of Defense and then the Air Force, and having watched Top Gun far too many times when I was a teenager, I asked whether they could get me into a fighter jet. In the end, they made this happen, and I was very excited and very naive at this point. I thought you just turn up, jump into a jet and have a great time. So finally, when the day arrived, I turned up at the airbase, and after my medical and being kitted out, I met the pilot, and I was pumped up and I was ready to go. Slightly apprehensive, but very excited. But the first thing the pilot said is that we need to start by planning our mission, because there had to be some real training value in all of this for him. So we sat on a computer, we mapped out a flight path. We said we'd take off from the airbase, fly out over the sea. He would show me a few things we can do with this aircraft. And then the purpose of this mission would be to fly up into the mountains, find a bridge, pretend to drop a bomb on this bridge and destroy it, and then return to base. And then we mapped out our path, saying, okay, we fly out into the sea, we would then find the river, follow this river up into the mountains. Shortly after we see a lake, there would be the bridge, and then we would pretend to drop our bomb. What you then do is you print your flight path out, and you actually have a clear plastic pocket on your flight overall, and this is where the map goes. So when you sit in the plane, you never ever forget what the goal and the purpose of this mission is and what flight path you're planning to take. So we then got strapped in, took off, and actually we took off as 2 aircrafts together. And very shortly after we took off, I had my proper Top Gun moment. He turned our aircraft upside down. I could see the other crew. We were waving at each other. But very quickly it became clear that when he was saying to me, I show you a few things we can do with this aircraft, what this actually translated into was, I will try to make you throw up as quickly as possible. So having the G-forces on you, having an oxygen mask on, flying upside down, looking into the sea is all messing with all of your systems. So the first 10 minutes were tough. I survived them. We then found the river, and that was probably my favorite part of the flight, because we were going up the river and I never realized how low these planes could fly. The mountains around us were higher than we were flying, so it almost felt like you were watching a video game. So we were going up, we found the lake, we found the bridge, we then pretended to drop our bomb. And again, what the pilot failed to explain to me in the beginning was that the other aircraft turned back up at this point and they did a bit of air-to-air combat, at which point I think my body gave up and I basically ended up pleading, please take me home, I've had enough now. And he then said, okay, let's go above the clouds. And what we will do is I will give you control for a bit. Because he said it's a bit like feeling car sick. You're never car sick when you're driving, only when you're a passenger. So I now had the stick in my hand and the aircraft was doing what I wanted it to do, going up and down, sideways, and I was actually feeling better. And then we talked about how you actually fly a plane and the dashboard that you use. And basically they have 5 critical dials, and those dials tell you exactly where you are in relation to where you should be. You don't even have to look out of the window. You can still safely fly the plane by looking at these instruments. So I now had this instrument panel in front of me. He also radioed back to mission control, who needed to know that he was passing control over to me. I mean, he was still in control because the sticks are connected. But mission control, they also do something else. They monitor the airspace around the aircraft. They look at things more strategically. They look at weather conditions and are there any unidentified aircraft in your flight path and so on. So what you have here is this great system of measures and instruments that tell you exactly where you are relative to your plan, so you can safely execute your mission. We then finally came back and landed on firm soil, and at this point I was so pleased that we were back on firm soil, and I was completely exhausted. I never realized that flying is so hard on your body. So I basically got strapped out and said, I'm off, I'm going to bed, I need to lay down now. And then the pilot said, no, you can't go to bed yet because there's another mandatory step we need to complete. And this step is called this after action review meeting, where you basically go into a debrief room and then talk about what was good, what was bad. So in my case, this was one of the most unconstructive after action reviews ever. But I had the pleasure to watch the Red Arrows do this. They are the display team, the elite team of the Royal Air Force. They would argue they're the 9 best pilots in the world, and they, after each display, very often they record their displays, they collect data, so they go into the debrief room, they look through the data, they look through the videos, and then they discuss what was good, what was bad, how they can do things differently next time. So an example was the squadron leader usually stands up first and says, I think I made a mistake. Towards the middle, I gave you command too early, which meant our display wasn't quite as good as it should have been. Towards the end, some of you pulled in too sharply. Now let's talk about how we do this differently next time. And this is such a powerful way of actually using data again to improve the future of their displays. And for me, the 3 lessons that we're pulling from all of this is, firstly, we need to have very clear goals and we need to map them out. So everyone in your business or everyone that is driving towards a goal understands exactly what this goal is and how they're planning to get there. The second thing that we need is we need good performance indicators to help us understand where are we. Because if we are flying on a mission without really good controls and without mission control monitoring where we are basically flying blind. And I find lots of organizations that have tons of information but no real insights on where they are. And the third lesson is that we need continuous performance management, where we use data and then review where we are, how things have been, and then make decisions about the future and how we can improve things. So 3 really important lessons any CEO should take away from a fighter jet pilot. If you would like to learn more, head to my website at bernardmar.com, where you can find tons of articles, white papers and videos that will give you a lot more insights into real-world case studies and examples.